UFC Fight Pass presents Extra Rounds. Live from the Fight Pass studios in Southern California, it's Extra Rounds on UFC Fight Pass. Along with Ray Longo, here's your host, TJ DeSantis. Extra Rounds.
Well, it's fight week once again. Who am I kidding? It's fight week every week here on UFC Fight Pass. But Las Vegas is once again the destination. Saturday night inside the UFC Apex. It is a heavyweight collision as a Black Beast, Derek Lewis, takes on Sergey Spivak. We are here to break it down, and you're here to listen and educate yourselves. Or who am I kidding? I'm not going to teach you anything. But Ray Longo might. Hey, everybody, it's Extra Rounds. I am TJ DeSantis. He is the great Ray Longo. Ray, have you ever thought about being, labeled as a professor? I know some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts, they like to be called professors. I feel like you should be something. What's your honorary title, Ray Longo?
Definitely not a professor. I don't like friend. I like.
Friend?
I don't like the titles. You know what I mean? To be honest with you, no Sifu, Sensei.
Right.
I'm just trying to do my job, and I want to see everybody successful.
Save the titles for your athletes who go out there and win them, right?
Exactly.
There you go. Well, no championship on the line Saturday night, but I think anybody that stays up to watch this fight card, they all deserve titles of their own right. Prelims start at 7 p.m., Ray. This is crazy. It's a fight night in Las Vegas, and we're kind of, living like we're on the East Coast out here. I feel bad, though, for East Coast fans who don't get that first prelim until 10 p.m.
Oh, right, because the prelims for me start at 10 p.m.
Yeah, people are going to be pulling all-nighters out there.
I don't know if I'll make it to the main event, because I think the main card starts at 1 a.m.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So it's for you, it's like what I go through.
Right,
That's interesting.
Well, it's funny. We're not even doing a post-fight show because I can't hang with someone like you. You know what I mean? I can't stay up that late.
For me, it'd have to be 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe 4.
That's crazy. That's
Isn't
absolutely
that crazy? So
yeah.
I think the problem was they were supposed to do this card in Korea, right? They have all the Korean fighters, but I hear so. It is what it is.
At least for those that, stay up all the way until the main event, it's probably going to be a short one. I don't think this one's going to go 25 minutes. You got two guys with finishing rates north of 80%. The Black Beast, Derek Lewis, taking on Sergey Spivak. Let's start with the Black Beast and kind of break down Derek Lewis, because he's at an interesting spot in his career. He's still ranked number 7 in the division. He's a guy that just doesn't go away. This is a class where you can stick around as long as you win 1, lose 1, or sometimes even, win 2, lose 3, you can still stick around in the UFC's heavyweight division. That's just heavyweight mixed martial arts as a whole. And Derek Lewis, he wins fights that matter, keeping him in that top 10. But, I'm not breaking news, Ray, when I say he's an underdog here, and for good reason. Despite having a higher ranking than Sergey Spivak, who is ranked number 12, Derek Lewis, he's lost 3 of his last 4, and not only has he lost 3 of his last 4, he's been finished in 3 of his last 4.
Right, and that's the problem. So but like you say, with the heavyweights, because there's a lack of them, you always have a little job security. And obviously Derek Lewis is a huge name. People still love to see him. That's the beautiful thing about branding, right? He branded himself the Black Beast. He's had great interviews on the microphone. Who doesn't want to see him fight? At the end of the day, win or lose. It's not even. He's just entertaining. So, yeah. But. He's probably now making a decent buck, so he's, he likes to fight still, but I think he's in desperate need of a win. This fight coming up, so we'll see what happens.
Taking a look at his stats here, MMA record of 26-10, made his debut back in the UFC in 2014. He owns the record for most knockouts in UFC history at 13. So definitely don't blink when the Black Beast is inside the octagon. But like I said, it's been hard times for him. He's lost 3 of his last 4. He's been finished in 3 of his last 4. But one thing I will say, and I heard John Anik talking about this on the Anik Florian podcast, Derek Lewis does sort of overachieve at times. When you think, he's sort of a kill or be killed fighter, he's gone very late and has gone the distance with a lot of, really great fighters. And Anik said it was because of his fight IQ. And I thought about that, and I kind of felt bad because I didn't label Derek Lewis as sort of a guy that had a great fight IQ. I sort of labeled him more as a survivor. But obviously, you're not going to be able to survive unless you're making, the proper decisions. And, for the most part, Derek Lewis, while you can finish him, that is true, he's a guy that doesn't go away easily.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, fight IQ. I think, man, that's interesting. I think the thing with him is that he could always get you out with one punch, and people know that,
Right.
so they're hesitant. Like, like if you look at him and Francis, was that fight IQ on both of their parts, or
I
was it
mean,
more apprehension to get knocked out?
you
So I
can't
think,
ever be overcautious with a guy
right.
like Derek
I
Lewis.
I think the beast, he has to control his cardio.
Right.
Like again, you put the beast in a 1 round fight, he's gonna have a big knockout. He's not gonna worry about anything. So I think he's smart enough. Yeah, if that's fight IQ, he's smart enough to stay within himself and not, let go with too much energy and still be able to finish the job. Yeah, then I agree with that. Almost like what he did with the Russian guy. Can't think of his name, but he knocked him out like the last round. He's losing that
Volkov.
whole fight. So yeah, right, exactly. So look, at the end of the day, he's an entertaining guy, and he 100% has knockout power. But it seems like he's reached a point in his career. He either knocks you out or he's getting knocked out.
Yeah.
Whereas he used to lay back a little bit, but I think people understand it now because he's been around for a while. He's getting older, and I'd like to see him with a good training IQ, where he comes in fantastic shape and he doesn't have to worry about cardio, and he just implements the game he wants to.
The one sort of question mark I think about Derek Lewis always is his health. He's been plagued by back issues.
Right.
And that's the thing too. Like, I'm not telling people to bet or not bet money, but I don't know how any person puts money down on a Derek Lewis fight, and feel confident, because you don't know what he's going to show up like, whether his cardio is going to fail him or whether he's, not in shape because he's, injured because his back is plaguing him. You just never really know what you're going to get with the Black Beast.
Yeah, listen, I think people put money down because they genuinely love him.
Right.
They love the beast. I mean, since day one, there were guys at the gym. They just got a kick out of him, and then he had a couple of really great fights. He had a really couple of real memorable interviews. I mean, they might not even be wanting to watch him fight. They might be waiting for the post-fight interview. They might want to see him win just to see what he says to Rogan. I don't know, but that's the beautiful thing about the beast. He's charismatic in his own way. He can knock you out. Listen, win or lose, he's always in an exciting fight. I think that you could say, except for the Francis fight, which I don't know what was going on in that fight. But
that's the anomaly, though, right? Like, that's the fight that sort of sticks out, that you can't really look too much into that as anything other than both of those guys, I think, respected the hell out of one another.
That was it. That was it. But everything else, he's always exciting. But look, as you get older, man, things start to disappear a little bit. So I think this is an important fight for him. He needs a win, and I'll be pulling for the beast. I like him.
Plus 195 is Derek Lewis. The favorite is Sergey Spivak, who is minus 230. Spivak 15-3 in his MMA run, 6-3 in the UFC. Currently riding a 2-fight win streak. He has stopped both Augusto Sakai and Greg Hardy in his last 2 fights. No surprise that he's the favorite here, but like you said, Ray, like when you're approaching Derek Lewis, even if you are a finisher like Spivak is, you got to ride that throttle very carefully, because you too, if you get, overextended or gassed out or anything, the last thing you want to do is be standing in front of a very, hungry, game, deadly Derek Lewis, because he'll put your lights out.
Listen, man, I mean, this fight, I think this is way closer. I mean, because first off, Sakai and Greg Hardy, the beast tomorrow would beat the both of those guys. So I'm not sure that's a good gauge, but if you look at quality of opponents who the beast, who Derek Lewis has been in there with, way better a competition, I think, than Sergey's been in with as of right now. So I think this is experience, and like again, he needs a win, but he certainly has the knockout power to end that fight. Still, that'll never leave him.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and it's one of those situations where I do feel, though, if Spivak is controlled and maybe tries to bring Derek Lewis to the second or third round, that does benefit him. But we'll see. You got to survive that onslaught and that storm.
Yeah, and he's got a better ground game, so I think that's his best path to victory, is try to get it to the floor and wear him out down there, if not finish the fight down there. So,
oh, come on. I know you're not sleeping on Derek Lewis's ground game. I mean, he's got 21 knockouts, but he's got one submission in his career.
Well, what submission was that?
I have no idea. I probably fear. Probably
did he suffocate somebody on top of him?
That's a great question. I got to look it up now because, like, what does Derek Lewis have that is his favorite submission, you think? I'm going to say it's like a guillotine or something like that.
I could see him with a head knock choke.
What's your best sub? What do you got in the bag of tricks?
Last time I was on the mat, I'd say I could still Kimura, the average beginner.
Oh, that's my favorite. That's my favorite submission, Ray.
That's about it.
Oh, wow.
You don't see it.
Oh, I got it. In his fourth pro fight, Derek Lewis hit an arm bar on a gentleman named Raheem Cleveland, which, by the way, doesn't sound like a real name. I'm just going to throw that out there. Yeah, I got a submission. Over who? Raheem Cleveland. Yeah. Don't anyone share this with Derek Lewis. I don't want to be his second submission. But there you go.
That's funny.
Marcin Tybura, he's in action. Another heavyweight fight. He takes on Blagoy Ivanov. Tybura is 6-1 since 2020. He's got a streak that goes back those 7 fights with a win over Spivak. So Tybura firmly in the mix. He's going to be having vested interest in that main event. Are you familiar with the story of Blagoy Ivanov? Stabbed in the chest, was on like a respirator for.
Is he the guy from American Kickboxing?
I got to pull that up. I don't know where he's training.
Right. I think he's a.
Yeah, you're right. You are right. Yep.
Yeah. I'm familiar with him. I'm not the stabbing though.
Just the crazy story, man. Like just these heavyweights in and outside of the octagon, the hell that they're able to go through and come back. But
who's the favorite in that fight?
Let's see here. Where is it? There it is. Minus 135 for Tybura Ivanov. The comeback is plus 115.
All right, so close fight.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I think that's accurate.
I think most heavyweight fights are coin tosses, Ray. You look at it, it's just, I hate to say that, but like these guys, they exchange wins and losses a lot. And it's sort of like the only division that you'll see top to bottom in MMA where, the guys, number 4 through 1, they're killers. But after 5 to 15, it's just a wash on who might win.
I agree with you.
So, but it makes it
fun.
And
it's funny, in the heavyweight division in boxing was always the premier division, but in MMA it's more the light heavyweights, I think.
That's always been sort of the golden division for the UFC. Has been the light heavyweight division. But real quick, let's take a look at the heavyweight mix here. Look at our rankings. Currently no champion atop the heavyweight class. Your number 1 ranked fighter is Cyril Gane. Miocic at 2. Sergey Pavlovich at 3. Curtis Blades at 4. Tai Tuivasa at 5. Tom Aspinall at 6. Got Derek Lewis again, who's in action at 7. Marcin Tybura at number 10. So you got some rankings movement potentially here on this fight card, but also too, Ray, just the simple fact that we are, gearing up for a March showdown between Cyril Gane and John Jones. I mean, heavyweight's going to look a lot different here in a matter of 2 months. Yeah.
John Jones is going to reignite that whole division, but the first 6 guys are all not easy outs. That's a better. Sounded better when you were reading it than when I wasn't thinking about it. But
there's fun fights.
I think missing Francis is going to be a big deal. But having John Jones step in there with his marquee value and he's one of the greatest of all time.
Right.
That's going to bring some life back to that division.
No, 100%, and it's going to be exciting to see what happens. We're going to start a new segment here called Ask Ray. And we've solicited listeners and viewers online through Twitter, Instagram, and email, extrarounds@ufc.com, to just submit your questions for Ray Longo. And this actually fits in quite nicely. Tony P. from Seattle writes in, Ray. He wants to know about John Jones. He says, is it safe to say we really know anything about John Jones fighting at heavyweight? Like, think about this, Ray. We've been doing Extra Rounds since May of 2020. John Jones hasn't fought in that time. Like, this will be the first fight that John Jones has had since I've been doing the show for the better part of 3 years. Now, I don't know what to expect. Jones is definitely going to be different. you expect him to be, as powerful and strong as he was at light heavyweight, if not stronger. Will he be as fleet of foot? I don't know. What do you think we can take away? Because that's the thing too. John, in his last couple of performances at 205 pounds, wasn't the vintage John Jones of old. Will he be, sort of born again and be this, great elite heavyweight, or is he gonna be on the, sort of downswing of his career when looking back at his 205-pound performances?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the question though. I mean, I don't think we do know a lot about him at this point. He's been away too long. I mean, he switched camps. We know he got bigger. We know he put the weight and the muscle on. That's about it. We don't know how he's going to react to a guy's his own size, or if he has to carry that extra weight that he's not used to carrying. So, I mean, not even like on himself, but I'm saying even moving a bigger guy, he's going to have to move another 50 pounds. Like, so, man, it makes it intriguing though, but I don't think we know a lot about him. No, I think this is, I want to say this will be a fresh start for John Jones at heavyweight. And this first fight, this will tell us everything we want to know about him at heavyweight for sure.
I think styles make fights, obviously, but, there are multiple different style matchups for John at heavyweight that I don't really know what they look like. We saw what Francis did to Ciryl Gane a year ago, taking him down and, pulling a wrestling game. John has good wrestling. Like, John could do the same thing, but also Jones has been, one to stand at distance and use his length and reach and, get, flashy and fancy. But he's also been tagged a lot. He's been hit more in his last couple of fights than he has his entire run atop the 205-pound division. I don't know if he can afford to get hit in the heavyweight class.
Right, and I'm going to say Dominic Reyes, a fight that I thought he unequivocally lost.
Right.
He had trouble taking him down or keeping him down. And Dominic Reyes isn't a wrestler, so I think that's a positive for Ciryl Gane. I think, like, again, there's a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, there's like, again, I am excited for that fight just to see where he's at. Like, again, maybe we don't know injuries. We don't know. Let's hope he gets to the fight and he passes the drug test at this point. That who knows? I mean, there's a lot of moving parts with him, but how old is he now? He got old. He's got to be 36, 37, I'm going to say.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so, for a heavyweight, that's not bad, but he wasn't a heavyweight his whole life. So I'm really curious to see how he moves with the extra weight on. And not only that, how he can sustain a 5-round fight with the extra muscle, because that's not easy to do either. And, like the caller said, I don't think we know a lot, but we are going to find out a lot in a short period of time. And
that's the thing, too. I think it also benefits Ciryl Gane that this fight is a 5-round fight, and he's been active where John hasn't. And going 5 rounds when you're carrying that extra weight is a lot different than going 5 rounds when you're a 205-pounder. So we'll see what happens. Next question here. This from Twitter, a gentleman named @FreeBarely. He says, would the Ray Longo of today be the best person to train a 23-year-old Ray Longo, or would you have needed a different personality back then to mentor you?
Well, I mean, I was never a fighter, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah, but like if you were trying to go out there and learn, martial arts at 23 years old, would the coach that you are today be the best personality to get through to a 23-year-old incarnation of yourself?
Oh man, what are we? This is deep.
It's very deep.
I didn't think I had to think tonight. I thought we were just bullshit. Wow, that's a really good question. Hold on a second.
Well, I mean, what were you like at 23 years old? Like, what were your main priorities in life at 23 years old?
Well, I was training, right? So I loved training, but I was more. So look, obviously, there's no UFC, so I was just a martial arts. Always loved martial arts. So I think I was surrounded. I think I had some of the best instructors and stuff at the time, so that was good. But what I know, I think I would have been fine. I'm like, again, I'm a compassionate instructor. I like to see people grow. So I think that would have been, I think I would have been fine with that. A 23-year-old learning from me as of today. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah. So like the today you teaching the 23-year-old.
Right. I mean, I have so much more knowledge now than I ever had that I think that would be perfect. Yeah. I just think that, even when we're in the gym, I mean, you're talking about like 30 years of experience, even when people are training, like what I've
Right.
seen and how I've seen people come back from injuries, how they got injured. We're definitely, the 23 would be fine with me today because I'd be a little more compassionate too. Like back in those days, if you got knocked out in sparring, you got put right back in there.
Right. Of
And
course.
I would never do that to somebody today. You know what I mean? We're
Yeah.
definitely more conscious. So I definitely, as I got older, I got more wisdom. Definitely mellowed out a bit. So that would be good. I think, somebody to pull the reins in on me a little bit would have been great. Yeah.
Every time I talk to an athlete that is, active in their MMA career in their 30s, they always say, if I could only go back to my 20s and just tell that kid what I know today and approach everything differently, they'd all be world champions. And I think there's something to that.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I always enjoy it. Like I still to this day I love training. So,
Right.
I have I've definitely hacked away a lot of the unessentials of training, and you kind of know, like there's like somebody in the gym now, it's like, okay, we have 6 months to train them or 8 months. That's a different approach than if you had 2 or 3 years,
For
so
sure.
we follow a couple of different protocols, but I'm going to say I would have never had that experience 20 years ago.
Right.
I would have
Of
been.
course.
Look, I'll give you a good example too. Even with the weight cutting, that was never my thing. But I had Matt Serra. We had no idea. You know who saved us one day? You'll appreciate this because
All right.
you're going to know the guy nobody else will. Gil Castillo.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Caesar
Gil
Gracie
was a
guy.
great guy. Great guy. He saved us. We were lost.
Really?
And everybody was lost. Everybody had a different way. That's very so scientific now with the nutrition and
Yeah.
the water loading.
Yeah.
Back then, it was crazy, and he saved us one fight for sure because Matt was struggling, and he kind of walked us through it. And Gil, if you're out there, thanks. I did see him in Vegas one time. It was great catching up with him. He was always a nice guy, and he was the middleweight champ, right? At one point,
He was the first ever middleweight champion. Yeah.
think about it. Like,
Or
and
second
people
ever.
probably have-
Second ever. He beat Dave Benet, who was the first ever. My fellow
right.
Minnesotan
Think
guy.
of
But yeah.
people have no idea probably of that, like who he is.
No. He's sort of a footnote in history. I always think of this, and we talk about this a lot and post-fight, Ray. These athletes that go through basically hell inside the octagon and continue fighting, a lot of them are cut, and the cut is definitely bleeding into the eye. I remember Gil Castillo fought Matt Hughes for the welterweight title, and he had a tiny, tiny cut above his right eye, and it was in Nevada, and they stopped it. And he was like, "What are you doing? Stop it!" And it was a cut due to a headbutt by accident. And
Wow.
Nowadays you can have your whole eyebrow just be one massive cut, but Gil Castillo, tiny little cut.
Yeah. So anyway, so the knowledge for everybody, I think everybody grew in the last 20 years, right? Since the inception of the sport. Like weight cutting to me was the biggest thing because, I had a lot of boxing friends and stuff. Man, they were the worst. It was, getting the sauna with the sweatsuit on and the bicycle.
Right.
That was about it. Starve yourself, the wrestling guys then came in. They were more familiar with it, so we were leaning towards them. But then it became very, very scientific. And I think, not that I'm saying it's good for you, but it's better for you now than what was going on 20 years ago.
No, for sure. All right, final question. This one's for me because I saw it online a little bit. Obviously, Aljamain Sterling has some business to attend to still atop the bantamweight division, but he was talking about moving up to 145 pounds. Alger's a guy who, cuts a lot of weight. He said that the cut to 45 or lack thereof, and at least compared to what he's doing to get to 35 would be a lot easier. So I'm curious, Ray, when will Aljamain Sterling move up to 145 pounds?
Well, I'll tell you, if he keeps eating the way he's eating, he might have to make that. He might have to do it tomorrow. He might not make the Cejudo fight because he's huge. I mean, did you see him with O'Malley and Morales?
Oh yeah.
Guy is, he really is. He's enjoying himself. The guy's absolutely awesome. Well, he's definitely going to. I'm going to say at most 2 fights. He'll do 2 more fights, maybe 1. That would be my guess. Not that we'll talk about it, but I think, look, Aljo has become one of the nicest guys I've ever met. I know he wants to see Merab get that shot. They're very, very close. And I don't know. And that's what I love about our team. It's not look, you can't have it perfect, but it's just not a selfish team, and he's a great guy, and Marab's a great guy. So I think he would move up even faster than he wanted to, just to give Marab a shot. So I'm going to say 2 fights at most. I could see him with the Cejudo and O'Malley, and then that's it. I mean, then basically he did clear out that division, kind of,
Right.
no, at that point. So
I mean, if he gets those wins, it's going to be hard. You're going to have to establish another contender.
right.
Because if Marab's still holding things down, like, they're not going to fight each
Yeah,
other. That's obvious.
Yeah, it's not happening, right? 100%
Yeah.
not happening. Well, Rob's got a really tough fight with Jan. He gets past Jan, it starts heating up a little bit, though. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it isn't easy. I wouldn't want to be in their position, but I love the way they're handling it so far. I really do. As like a senior guy, or I love it. I want to see everybody remain friends. I'm not a guy sell your soul for money type of guy, and
Sure.
and people will call me a complete idiot, and that's their prerogative, obviously. But some guys just, when everything's about money, 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 they can never understand where people are coming from. But I'm here to tell you, good guys do finish first. You know what I mean? So that's it. I'm loving the way they're doing it. So I say 2 fights tops, maybe 1 fight. But again, TJ, if the guy doesn't put the whoppers down, he's not making those 2 fights. I mean,
that's funny. I will say this. I mean, how many times have we talked about athletes, becoming champions and finding success, and almost that success being the end of them? For Aljamain Sterling, it's the exact opposite. He has captured this championship and has sort of, carried that division in himself in a way that I honestly didn't expect. I mean, the maturation process that he's gone through, being a champion under sort of criticism, in the way that he got the belt, he's turned into one of the best in the sport.
Right. You hit on the thing I was going to say. He's doing something that if you would have asked people, how do you think he's going to behave? I bet you 90% would have been wrong. Yeah. That's the key, what you said. But man, the guy's, I'm telling you, good dude. That's all I could say. Really good dude. And I'm glad everything worked out the way it did, because these guys really put a lot into it. It's really, really, really crazy, but it's great to see him successful. And I love it. Look, one of the things that bothered me, remember when they took John Jones in and Rashad left? And is it worth it? Like, is that, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, is it worth it? Is destroying a lifelong friendship over a fight
I thought
worth it?
Honestly, between me and you, TJ, I thought it was gross. And I wish somebody would have jumped in there and did something, because I don't know. I mean,
it's better when the athletes do it themselves, take it upon themselves to figure it out. Right. But I mean, coaches need to coach sometimes, and sometimes the coaching isn't just inside the gym.
Exactly. You got to listen. That's kind of the thing. It's not really about coaching. It's about mentoring somebody.
Right.
That's why I say, how do you mentor somebody if you're not squared away yourself? You know what I mean? It's hard. You could, but I'm saying people are going to analyze you and look at it, but you're there to really mentor people. That's part of coaching. Yeah. It's like, what's the saying? A good coach could change your game. A great coach can change your lifetime. And that's kind of how I try to, that's my motto. I believed in as a coach. I didn't really, I want to win. I love it. I don't want to lose, but more importantly, I want to see people win at life. Like where Sarah is now with the school, and he's sending me videos. He's teaching his daughter how to drive. This is a guy that had the potential to end up like Phil Baroni. Matt was a street kid. He was a fucking street kid when I met him. Yeah. We had the conversation because Matt's very upset about the Baroni thing, because his point, I think, is he sees himself, look, we both started out like in the same Long Island, the same spot. How does this guy end up there? And I said, Matt, here's the difference. You surrounded yourself with really good people, and Baroni repelled good people.
I mean, Phil was nomadic in his ways. You know what I mean? So he was kind of a guy that bounced around from gym to gym for whatever reason. I'm not going to say why, but he's a guy that didn't have a rock solid guy like yourself in his life. Yeah.
And he was at my gym at the beginning for a little bit, right? And about 5 years ago, he wrote me a beautiful letter. I wasn't like, I was great friends with him, but I did know him, and he fought for us a couple of times on the local circuit. But I guess I was with Weidman's old man, and he came over. We had a drink, and he wrote me a letter saying he just wish he would have trained with me, and I would have been everything would have been better. It was like
Wow.
almost gut wrenching, TJ. That this guy. I mean, I couldn't even believe it myself because there were a couple of times where I think we were screaming we were going to kill. Like I told him to go fuck himself. He's saying he's going to kill me, and it just he's always been like a loose cannon. You know what I mean? So. But I always had a soft spot for the guy. I always liked his dad, and he was always a good guy, but like a little bipolar, I think. You know what I mean? He could drive, he could switch on a dime, and those guys are kind of volatile, right? So, but I think Matt's point was that could have been him. You know what I mean? Like they both their high schools were the town over. Like it's just crazy, So. Matt's turned into like a sensitive guy all of a sudden. I'm like, you really that bothered by that? Like, I feel bad, but I'm not, it's just,
but they're peers though. They're peers though. I mean, not that you weren't a peer, but
Yeah, he's bothered by it. But anyway, so that's again, a good coach can change a game. A great coach can change a lifetime. I think that's what it's about. More than important than the coaching is to, see your guy successful after the fighting's done, because it is going to end. And that's inevitable. And it's great to see guys squared away. I had that conversation with Aljo. I said, I'd never worry about you. You're square. You already got a couple of houses. You're doing the right thing. He's always thinking.
Right.
They're a very smart guy. And he knew he wasn't going to blow this opportunity.
And what I think is great about Aljo is, he kind of knew what he wanted from jump, and that sort of rubbed some people the wrong way. This is a sport where, people believe it's a meritocracy, but if you don't go straight away and tell the world what you want, no one's going to hand it to you. You got to go out there and get it.
Too. Remember, feed the streets.
Oh man, I love that.
Yeah.
I love it.
I had a buddy of mine. He know Aljo's friend too, but went out to Vegas. He's a Jewish guy, and he called me up and he said, let me tell you something. Aljo's a mensch. I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about.
I don't know what that means.
The fuck is he's just a great guy. He'll do anything for you. There's a guy he doesn't have to do anything for. He said, I went out there. That guy took care of everything, got me to train, and I went over here. He's just a good dude, man. Really good guy. That's all I can say.
I think he's following in the footsteps of another good guy, and his name is Ray Longo. And I appreciate you, Ray, for being on the show, being my pal, and off camera as well. And, we're having fun over here in Extra Rounds, and I appreciate you being a part of it.
That's what it's about. Keep those questions coming. There was a couple of hard ones today, but that was good. Really good.
We'll do Ask Ray. Again, just get at me, at TJ DeSantis, at Ray Longo, MMA on Twitter, and, of course, at UFC Fight Pass. Use the hashtag Extra Rounds. All right, Ray. I won't talk to you post-fight because it's going to be 4 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast, but we'll probably bother you next week and get ready for this big UFC going down in Perth.
Yeah. You might get a call.
Uh-oh.
You might get a call.
Okay.
So it would probably be, you'll be sleeping, not 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. We'll wait till the next day. But anyway,
right.
TJ, always a pleasure. You're the best. I will talk to you soon.
Thanks, Ray. Appreciate it.
Take it easy, buddy.
There he is, Ray Longo, kind enough to give me a few moments here on Extra Rounds. You should give UFC Fight Pass a few moments this weekend. Obviously got the UFC going on Saturday night, but our fight week officially kicks off on Friday. Let's take a look at the schedule here. You got an exciting night of action. Uriah Faber's A1 Combat is coming up. Shudo Brazil, Lux 30, Fury FC on Sunday. So, just step into our world. Just do it. Sign up right now, UFCFightPass.com, if you're not a member already. And if you are, of course, you can get hooked up with all the archives of Extra Rounds. I don't know what episode number we're on, but there's a whole bunch of them, and you should watch and enjoy some of the interviews that we've done, over the years. Can't believe the show's been on for multiple years. Anyway, it will continue coming up next week as we get ready for the big UFC pay-per-view Down Under. All right, that's it for Ray Longo. I'm TJ DeSantis. Thanks for going a few extra rounds right here on UFC Fight Pass.